This is Respectfully Outrageous. All right, so we're back with Respectfully Outrageous, right? It's been a little
Long
bit.
time.
Yeah. Today we're going to start with the old Michael Thomas debate
Yeah.
and how he's not the best receiver in the league.
So why don't you say what you think about? Why don't you say your bit and we'll go from there?
Okay, all right. So Michael Thomas is a great receiver, all right? I'll give him top 5. Maybe top 3. I'd have to think about it a little more, but he's definitely not the best receiver in the league. With Drew Brees, and he only runs slant routes, bubble screens, in and out routes, pretty basic route tree stuff. And that's where all his receptions came from. And I personally don't think he deserved Offensive Player of the Year last year.
Okay.
It should have definitely gone to Christian McCaffrey. And I know you beg to differ on this, but he's not all he's way overhyped. Way overhyped.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else, Devontae Parker thing you want to get into?
Okay, yeah, he's also a crybaby, Michael Thomas. He can't. I mean, it's not like Devontae Parker has guarded Michael Thomas. Like he's obviously going to say it's harder to catch a pass against Stephon Gilmore because he plays against him twice a year. So I don't get what's wrong with Michael Thomas getting so hurt about that. I mean, it's trivial. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start with the Devontae Parker thing. Stephon Gilmore is the best defensive back in the league. That's true. Um, but I don't think Michael Thomas is more a crybaby than passionate. Right? We talk about Tom Brady being the most passionate player, and he loses his mind on the sidelines about officiating and all that stuff. We never question Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a crybaby. We always say, well, Tom Brady's just passionate. That's what you want, right? We always talk about, well, there are defensive backs. You want a defensive leader like a Ray Lewis, right? Someone that's really intense. But you never say they're a crybaby. So I'm wondering why that stamp has been applied to Michael Thomas. Whereas there are other receivers like Beckham who are legitimate. I would say Beckham's more crybaby because it's antics. Where it's Thomas,
Okay.
he's not a locker room cancer. He's a leader. And I'm not in the same locker room, but I think he's beloved by his teammates for being passionate, not a crybaby.
Well, and
Now,
I mean, I gotta say something. I would agree that Odell Beckham is definitely more of a crybaby than Michael Thomas.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
out of the question. But
absolutely.
what I'm saying is I don't understand why he reacted to such a thing that doesn't matter. Like
Right,
I don't think that's passionate. That like you can't. That
yeah,
just doesn't make sense to me.
right. I mean, I think this will answer your question. What do you think of Baker Mayfield's like personality?
He's I wouldn't. He's definitely more of a passionate guy.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of energy. He's
Hmm.
um, I don't. Maybe he's matured more in the last year, but I mean,
Yeah.
he was immature coming into the league. So
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if there's some people that see it passionate and some people see it as a crybaby. I see it as passionate, and that's the guy that sees him torch my team. Well, my team that didn't have defensive backs before the
I was
draft.
gonna say there
But
was no competition.
okay, but I mean, I think Michael Thomas is passionate, so we can move on from there. And I think that's just the mentality you need as a receiver. Now, as to what routes he runs, we don't talk about. We only talk about what routes he runs for Michael Thomas. No one was talking about the fact that well, Randy only ran a streak route for his first couple of years in Minnesota because he didn't develop as a route tree person, right? That's a new thing. Well, we're not talking about well the fact that Derrick Henry averages like 6 more yards per carry to the outside right because his offensive line is better. We don't talk about that. We only say that as a negative stamp on this receiver, right? And we
See,
use it a
see,
little bit on.
see. Hold on, but I get what you're saying, but they didn't win Offensive Player of the Year or MVP. I mean, I'm what I'm saying is he shouldn't have gotten the accolades with
Right.
what he did.
Is it what he did or how he did it?
No, it doesn't matter. I think Christian McCaffrey should have gotten Offensive Player of the Year
Okay. I'll put it like this.
because he did
If
more with less.
okay, if You lead your team in scoring in basketball. Does it matter if you do it from the paint or the 3 line?
Depends. Depends if the team you're playing. I mean, if you're playing the Rockets
Okay,
and they don't have a big guy.
if you're James Harden or Giannis, like if James Harden leads the league in scoring and he does it all from the 3, compared to whereas Giannis does it all in the paint and he has to drive and has to do it through fouls and free throws. Is that different?
I would yes, I would give the nod to Giannis because
Why?
because if you score more points, Harden's shooting threes, so he gets an extra point on Giannis every time he gets a drive.
Right.
You see what my point is? Like,
I see your point is, but like, it should be how are you? Your job is to help your team win. I don't care how you do it, right?
Yeah, but Michael Thomas doesn't block either. Did you see Kamara's stats? Terrible.
I mean, I think Kamara was. I never was high on Kamara, so let's just get that out.
Well, but I mean, I'm not saying he's like superstar level, but in the season before, so not this last season, but the season before, he had a great season, right?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden he gets nothing down. What changed? Like Michael Thomas wasn't just in block. Like he was hogging all the targets.
Right. I mean, I think is it hogging all the targets if you're always open? Like, it's like if you don't call for the ball if you're going to miss a shot, right? But if you're going to keep producing, you're going to keep producing. So
and that's not what I'm arguing. I'm saying he's a good receiver. Like, yes, he's open and he's got good hands, he's got good strength, this and that. But I'm saying he's overhyped from where he's at.
I mean, I feel like I understand that it's a certain point, but I feel like kind of in a way that Oklahoma had with Russell Westbrook, where if Russell Westbrook went off, the team would still lose because no matter how well he played, like it was set up in a way that if he was going to do well, the rest of the team had to do poorly for him to dominate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like Michael Thomas might not work in like Kansas City, where it's all about these big explosive plays, right? He'd be very good fit in Minnesota, New Orleans. Actually, I hate him in Minnesota because I hate him. But like, you know what I mean? Like, or like.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. He's more of a like puzzle piece in the fact that he fits really well with New Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah, like you don't ask a semi truck to do a Formula One car's job, and you don't do the vice versa, right?
Right.
Like I feel like there's some receivers like Julio and Devontae and Hopkins that can do whatever you want him to do, whereas Michael Thomas is the best at what he does, and which is move the chains. And I think I heard someone compare him to Jerry Rice in that set, but Jerry Rice is fast. So I feel like if the Saints really want to truly be explosive, then they need enough of a receiver that's flat out fast to work with Michael Thomas. But right now, with Michael Thomas being the only legitimate receiver on the Saints, then they have to do it this way to be successful. Like Kyle Shanahan ran with 3 running backs in San Francisco. They can't be elite vertically because that's the strength of their team. So
sure. And like I said, he's a good receiver, but I think the hype is too much on him. And like you said, I think like what he does, he runs slant routes really well.
Yeah.
But is that offensive player of the year worthy? I mean, Christian McCaffrey did it all.
Right.
Even Lamar did it all this season too. So like
Lamar didn't produce in the playoffs, which was brutal. But
technically the offensive player MVP is supposed to be regular season award. So
season award, yeah.
But like you get what I'm saying. I mean,
I get what you're saying.
I feel like there are 2 other players that did more.
Yeah.
While doing other things as well, like complete whole job, than what Michael Thomas did.
Michael Thomas, like we've seen running backs do the 2 and 2, like the 2,000, like 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
It was like a long time ago. It was like Marshall Faulk, I believe it was.
Yeah. Yep.
But we've never seen like he broke Marvin Harrison's record, a record I didn't think was going to break for a long time, right? Even in a more passing league, that was with Peyton Manning. I wasn't going to say indoors, but New Orleans plays indoors. But that was with Peyton Manning, and we were just like, well, we never thought that record was going to break because Marvin Harrison went off, and he broke it, and it wasn't even close.
I mean, but if you look at it, like if you're doing the shorter routes all the time, it's gonna you get more receptions just to move the chains.
Right.
Like you get what I'm saying? Like you look at
when Tyreek Hill goes for 50 compared to when Michael Thomas goes for 50.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's going to take
Yeah,
what? Michael Thomas, like
3
6, 7
catches.
receptions, or like 3, 4, 5
Yeah,
to get to
to
50.
take.
And
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill
to
is going
take.
to take one.
Yeah, but they're different receivers, completely
Yeah.
different. And when Tyreek Hill came into this league, he was a special teamer, right? That's all he was.
Yep.
Special teams, reverses, like he was like a Tavon Austin.
Hmm.
And then when Michael Thomas came into this league, he had to work on the practice squad, and he was like a pick the first down guy. So I mean, I don't think it's like a diss to say that he only runs slant routes. I mean, he does that better than anybody else. He's the best route runner in the league.
I mean, he runs more slant routes, so he's got more
Right.
data points than other people do. I mean, that's just part of the
Yeah.
deal.
Like, but he's also open more than anybody else in the league. So you can look at it either way. Like you're going to throw it to the guy.
But I mean, but if you're going to be more open if you run more of that route.
Right. And part of it is also coaching, right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
doing what the coaches ask, right?
Sure.
Like we're not going to say, well, Patrick Mahomes only throws it deep. Well, Andy Reid's calling the plays. So,
Well, yeah.
or Kyle Shannon or Matt Breeder only runs to the right. Kyle Shanahan's calling the plays. So
Yeah.
it's not like, whereas like a punter, well, he really shanked that. But that's kind of more on him. Whereas as a quarterback, it's more like you're deciding where to go. As a receiver, you come out of the huddle and you do what the coach tells you to do.
Sure.
So, I mean, I like Michael Thomas. I also like that he's on the Saints. And I kind of like that he's kind of hated in the league. So I like that about him. But at the end of the day, these receivers nowadays are so elite that there isn't a clear Jerry Rice, right? There's not a clear.
Well, yeah, and I'm not. Yeah, yeah.
That's not like it's just better. That's going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? DeAndre Hopkins, phenomenal. Michael Thomas, phenomenal. Julio, when he is, absolutely phenomenal. But there's some Butterfinger moments with Julio.
Well, yeah, and his quarterback too.
I mean, we can get into why I like Matty Ice, but Tyreek Hill, I think another year under his belt, he's going to be in that echelon. So, there's a lot of really great DK Metcalf. There's a lot of great receivers you should all put up there as top receivers. So it really just depends on what offense you're running and which one you see as the best and which one you like the best as the best. So
sure. I mean, I agree with
yeah.
I mean, I agree with that, but like my point was saying, I think he's just too overhyped.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like yeah, I don't know. That's what I think.
You like more vertical guys. You like more vertical guys.
Well, I just like a receiver that has a threat on everything.
Mm.
Like I'm saying, like, what if this season teams just, throw a linebacker in on the slants and out, like, and then just takes away.
Yeah.
If then he can prove me wrong, and if he runs those better routes, then I'll give it to him. But until I see
he's
it,
also he's deadly on comebacks and out routes too. So I mean, part of it is like we talk about with just like it's timing. He runs a timing offense, right? That's kind of the offense he runs. Marvin Harrison did the same thing. Reggie Wayne did the same thing. So I mean, it's kind of like a timing offense. So I mean, it's not that it's, but it's it's whatever what your best receiver is, whatever receiver helps your team win. So
yeah, sure. All right, well, I think that was a pretty good segment.
I think Tyreek Hill is absolutely elite at burning people.
Yep.
But if there's a goal line fade on the line, I want mine.
No. I mean, fair.
But then again, with Tyreek Hill, when you're going down the field, you can try to get him one-on-one. You can put him in the backfield as on a linebacker. So
exactly.
I think with a great offensive coordinator, like Sean Payton or Joe Brady or all these great offensive minds, that with all these receivers, that it's surprising that all of them aren't going for over 1,000 yards a year. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
It's tough. It's tough to be a defensive back in this league.
It's tough. They're the best athletes on the field. So.
Oh yeah.
That's why I should have taken Simmons. But I think DeAndre Hopkins is good, but I think it's kind of funny when DeAndre Hopkins complained about Drew Brees being his quarterback, because that kind of is an insult to Kyler. If you think about
he hasn't played with Kyler.
I'm just saying, like, well, you have Drew Brees. I was like, you're going to Kyler. Like,
what he's saying is DeAndre Hopkins did as well as Michael Thomas with
Brandon
worse quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Matt Schaub, like,
Brian
yeah,
Fitzpatrick.
Deshaun Watson's good, but he's only had him for what, the last 2-3 years?
Yeah. So, but like we don't ever say that. Well, you know, when we talk about like offensive linemen, we never say, well, Jason Kelsey's the best center in the league because Brandon Brooks is next to him. We never say that when we're talking about centers, right? We never say, well, our right tackle, like Brian Balaga, is the best right tackle, right? Because he's next to Corey Linsley at guard. Right? We never talk about that and say, well, this offensive lineman is producing really well because of this guy's next to him. We never talk about that. So,
Well, but that's offensive lineman.
I'm just saying, but like we always take away a greatness because it's put next to greatness. We can't appreciate greatness.
I mean, I will say that the wide receiver in the quarterback wide receiver relationship is
Very
kind
important.
of, yeah. It's, I mean, but it's gotten devalued as the receiver. I mean, there's a lot of receivers that, I mean, you look at like Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford.
Yep.
Like people are like, oh, Matt Stafford's so good, but it was all Calvin Johnson. Like, I mean,
Right.
that's.
And then Matthew Stafford's numbers went up after he got rid of Calvin Johnson. So
I mean, yeah, I
I
just
love
like,
Calvin, but like his numbers went up.
well, because Matt would stop forcing it to him.
Right.
But I mean, it's just you can't really compare offensive linemen to the quarterback wide receiver relationship.
I was basically saying that like we appreciate greatness. We just say like, well, they're great, and we don't talk about who's next to them or what allows them to be great. We just say they're great. That's what I was trying to get at. But
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think that that is different for offensive linemen than it is from receivers and quarterbacks.
okay, we got to move
Yeah.
on to the offense. We got to move on to the NFC South.
All right. Yep. We'll get on to a. Yep.
Let's get Daniel in here.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right. Get to the next one.